With a hangover, I always dream of faraway places, filled with heavy thoughts. But I didn't like heavy thoughts. Heavy thoughts could lead to heavy errors. I looked up through the specks of the sky. The sky was blue and tall as hell. I kept looking up at the sky, trying to get something straight. But I got nothing. No feeling of eternity or God, not even the devil. I thought a little bit about suicide then. The main problem with suicide was the thought that it might lead to something worse. What I really needed was an ice-cold bottle of beer. The label soaked just so, with those chilled beads so beautiful on the surface of the glass. The first thing I remember is being under something. It was a table. I saw a table leg. I saw the legs of the people and a portion of the tablecloth hanging down. It was dark under there. I liked being under there. I must have been between 1 and 2 years old. I got under the table. Nobody seemed to know I was there. Then there's nothing. Then a Christmas tree, candles, a star. 2 large people fighting, screaming. People eating. Always people eating. I ate too. I liked my grandmother's house. When she spoke, she sounded angry. She was seldom understood by people when she spoke. There was a piano, and I sat at the piano and hit the keys and listened to the sounds as the people talked. I liked the sound of the keys best up at one end of the piano where there was hardly any sound at all. The sound the keys made was like chips of ice striking against one another. "Will you stop that?" my father said loudly. "Let the boy play the piano," said my grandmother. My mother smiled. "That boy," said my grandmother, "is really something." But when I tried to get up to give her a kiss, she looked at me straight in the eyes and gave me a hard punch right in the nose. Ever since, I've been terrified of her. But the first thing I remember her saying was, "I will bury all of you."
l'ai dit. Je vais tous vous enterrer, je te l'ai dit.
The first time she said it, it was before one day, before dinner, and she would repeat it many times. I should go to another city. I knew my only company would be rats and solitude. It was a way of finding myself in my steps, in my bottles, in my cigarettes, on the roads, during the day and at night, in the blurred and superimposed sounds. I took 5 pints of whiskey in my suitcase on the bus with me. Whenever somebody sat next to me and began talking, I pulled out a pint and took a long drink, and they left me alone. The people swarmed up out of the subways like insects, faceless, mad. They rushed upon me, into and around me with much intensity. They spun and pushed each other. They made horrible sounds. I sat down in a public square and finished that last bottle. An old man asked me for a cigarette and told me his troubles. And this is what he said. That age was a crime, and that pity picked up the marbles, and that hatred picked up the cash. He might have been a sex friend or a saint, but whatever he was condemned. And we stood in the sun and smoked and looked around in our leisure to see who was next in line. Then I walked along, pushed, elbowed, until I saw a vacancy sign on 3rd Avenue. The manager was an old Latino woman. I need a room, I told her. You need a good suit, my boy. I'm broke. Then 3 huge dogs attacked me. I thought it was a hangover from the whiskey. Then I realized they only wanted to play. The old woman yelled at them, and they calmed down. My husband runs the tailor shop across the street. Come with me. I paid for my room, put my suitcase upstairs. I went with her across the street. Ruben, show this boy the suit. Ah, it's a nice suit. Ruben brought it out. A dark blue, a bit worn. It looks too small. No, it fits good. They forced the suit on me for a few dollars. I took it up to the room and went out to get some beer. I got into bed, opened the bottle, worked the pillow into a hard knot behind my back, took a deep breath, and sat in the dark, looking out of the window. Suddenly, the room filled with light. There was a clatter and a roar. The L ran level with the window of my room. I looked out into a row of faces who looked back. The train lingered, then pulled away. It was dark. Then the room filled again with light. Again, I looked into the faces. It was like a vision of hell, repeated again and again. Finally, I got up and took my new suit out of the closet. I slipped into the coat. It was a tight fit. The coat seemed smaller than when I was at the tailor shop. Suddenly, there was a ripping sound. The coat had split open straight up the back. I took what remained of the coat off. I still had the pants. I worked my legs into them. There were buttons in the front instead of a zipper. As I tried to fasten them, the seam split in the seat. I reached in from behind and felt my shorts. Call it the greenhouse effect or whatever, but it just doesn't rain like it used to. Remember the boy era. There wasn't any money, but there was plenty of rain. It wouldn't just rain for a night or a day. It would rain for 7 days and 7 nights. Waterfalls of it came down from the roofs, and often there was hail, big rocks of ice, bombing, exploding, and all the roofs leaked. Dishpans, cooking pots were placed all about. They dripped loudly and had to be emptied again and again. My father, never a good man, at best, beat my mother when it rained. As I threw myself between them, the legs, the knees, the screams, until they separated. "I'll kill you," I screamed at him. "You hit her again and I'll kill you. Get that son of a bitch kid out of here. No, Henry, you stay with your mother." All the households were under siege, but I believe that ours held more terror than the average. And at night, as we attempted to sleep, the rain still came down. And it always seemed to stop at around 5 or 6 a.m. And by 8 a.m., there was a blazing yellow sunlight. Van Gogh yellow. Crazy. Blinding. Adolescence came suddenly. About the 8th grade, I broke out with acne. Many of the guys had it, but not like mine. Mine was really terrible. It was the worst case in town. I had pimples and boils all over my face, back, neck, and some on my chest. It happened just as I was beginning to be accepted as a tough guy and a leader. I'd always had trouble with the girls, but with acne, it was impossible. At the end of that term, I was withdrawn from school. I went to bed, and my parents covered me with ointments. There was a brown salve that stank. My father preferred that one for me. It burned. He insisted that I keep it on longer, much longer than the instructions advised. One night, he insisted that I leave it on for hours. I began screaming. I ran to the tub, filled it with water, and washed the salve off with difficulty. I was burned on my face, my back, and chest. My father came into the room. "I thought I told you to leave that stuff on." "Look what happened," I told him. My mother came into the room. "The son of a bitch doesn't want to get well," my father told her. Why did I have to have a son like this? It was arranged for me to go to the general hospital. I sat in the back of the streetcar. A few blocks later, a young boy and a woman got on the streetcar. The woman was fat. The boy was about 4 years old. They sat in the seat across from me. As the sun shone outside, "Mommy," I heard the young boy say, "What's wrong with that man's face?" The woman didn't answer. The boy asked her the same question again. She didn't answer. Then the boy screamed it out. "Mommy, what's wrong with that man's face?" "Shut up. I don't know what's wrong with his face. Never saw anybody go under the needle like that. Look at him, cold as steel." Again, a gathering of nurse fuckers. Gathering of men who owned big homes and had time to laugh and to read and go to plays and to buy paintings and to forget how to think. forget how to feel anything. White starch at my defeat, above and around me, watching me. How do you feel? Wonderful. Don't you find the needle painful? Fuck you. What? I said, fuck you. He's just a boy. He's bitter. Can't blame him. How old are you? 14. I was only praising you for your courage, the way you took the needle. You're tough. Fuck you. You can't talk to me that way. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. You ought to bear up better. Supposing you were blind, then I wouldn't have to look at your goddamn face. The kid's crazy. Sure he is. Leave him alone. I got dressed, left the room, and walked down the hall. There was a mirror on a cigarette machine in the lobby. I looked into the mirror. It was great. My whole head was bandaged. It was all white. Nothing could be seen but my eyes, my mouth, and my ears. A woman walked down the street toward me. She had fine legs. First I stared right in her eyes, and then I looked down at her legs as she passed. I watched her ass. I drank her ass in. I memorized that ass. I never could have done that without my bandage. I didn't have a job. I didn't go to school. I didn't do anything. I was bandaged. I was standing on the corner smoking a cigarette. I was a tough man. I was a dangerous man. I knew things. Sleeth had suicide. I wasn't going to suicide. I'd rather kill some of them. I'd take 4 or 5 of them with me. I'd show them what it meant to play around with me.
La imagen que yo recuerdo, la primera imagen que yo recuerdo es la campiña panameña. Mi mamá era de un pueblo pequeño y mi familia iba de vacaciones a este pueblito. Y yo me acuerdo mucho de ver este pueblo que era seco, porque era durante la época de verano, pero a la misma vez cuando íbamos en el carro hacia este pueblecito, veíamos la campiña interiorana, o sea, el campo, lo verdoso, los animales, los caballos, las vacas, eso es lo que yo me recuerdo.
I think it was the image of a car that was swimming in our bathtub for the Christmas, which was part of the culture as a Catholic. You know, we used to have by Christmas on a table a carp, a fish. And I see that as a very intriguing image. But that's probably the earliest I can remember. But then I remember the smell of my mother, but it was pre-carp. It was wonderful.
My first memory is really strange because I was still an infant laying in the crib. I mean, I only had to be probably a few months old, but I was coherent of the fact that my mother was passing by, and I actually had a thought. I know this sounds really strange because I was so little, but I actually had a thought, why isn't my mother stopping? Why isn't she going to pick me up? And I remember these real sheer drapes blowing in the wind and then falling back asleep. That was my first memory as a little infant, like this big.
Salir corriendo con el pocillo lleno de azúcar. Me voy corriendo hasta donde está mi abuelita ordeñando la vaca. Mi abuelita me cargaba el pocillo con leche de vaca. Y me parece que esa es lo más lejos que puedo irme. Después todas las memorias se confunden, como que no sé cuál viene primero o después. Pero esa es bien clara. Mi abuelita la tiene en el campo, bien lejos.
My first memory, the minute you asked me that question, I thought of my mother. I thought about her neck and her shoulder like she was holding me, like I was in her arms. I could feel what she felt like.
Si bien me acuerdo, tenía como 2 años de edad y estaba con mis hermanas, y siendo que a los 2 años de edad uno es muy travieso, me acuerdo que un día así jugando al frente de la casa en el patio, metí mis manos entre 2 rejas y de repente me quedé ahí estoqueado y saqué un grito para que me sacaran de ahí, para que me liberaran, si podríamos decirlo así, de esa cárcel en que yo me encontraba. Era un sentido de desesperación, y me impactó eso, ese sentir de estar ahí atrapado y desesperado por querer salir. Realmente me impactó eso.
Next, I remembered, I'm on a table. Everybody's gone. The head of bravery. Some toad stood there smoking a cigar. "Kid, you're no fighter," he told me. And I got up and knocked him over a chair. It was like a scene in a movie. And he stayed there on his big rump and said over and over, "Jesus, Jesus, what's the matter with you?" And I got up and dressed, the tape still on my hands. And when I got home, I tore the tape off my hands and wrote my first poem. And I've been fighting ever since. I could see the road ahead of me. I was poor, and I was going to stay poor. But I didn't particularly want money. I didn't know what I wanted. Yes, I did. I wanted someplace to hide out. Someplace where one didn't have to do anything. The thought of being something didn't only appall me, it sickened me. The thought of being a lawyer or a councilman or an engineer or anything like that seemed impossible to me. To get married, to have children, to get trapped in the family structure, to go someplace to work every day and to return. It was impossible. October heat made me return to the white beach where I used to go when I was 8 years old. The afternoon light would comfort me. I imagined the losers who would fall, hoping that the morning heat would not incinerate them due to their hangover steam. All of a sudden, a man appeared. It was Sleeth, my best friend who had committed suicide. He spoke to me, but I didn't want to listen to him. I was really frightened. Unconsciously, I gave him change and looked back at the ocean.
¡Os voy a enterrar a todos! ¡Te lo he dicho ya! ¡Te lo he dicho!
One girl said that when the rainbow first came, she saw God's face at the end of it. Only she didn't say which end. Looking at these birds, I think of Sleeth and of that man. I was so scared, I didn't realize he was not asking for money. I think he needed my help to open a can of food he had in his hand. I am in another city. I go in a bar after I saw a man sticking his knife into another man. I put on a record and drank several beers. I liked going from bar to bar and walk the streets for hours. I would sit and watch the horses, the carts, and the actors who depended on the tourists for their livelihood. In this city, it seems that everyone is hiding. in order to feel free. I could piss away my life unmolested. One night, I met Frankie. I never found out if that night she was really saying goodbye to her single life. The thing is that she invited me to follow her. She moved her body in a very sensual way. We left that bar, then to another one, and another one. We made love till the morning sun, in a hotel room, above the alley where poor men poke for bottles, making love in the sun, making love by a carpet redder than our blood, making love by a photograph of Paris, and an open pack of Chesterfields, yeah. I passed the hotel several times. There are cats in the alleys, and bottles, and bums, and I look up at the window and think, I no longer know where you are. And I walk on and wonder where the living goes when it stops. I went into a Latino party, looked for the bar, yeah. And I tried to dislocate my bones. I returned several times for a beer and a salsa teacher. Every night I ended up drunk, and I didn't even learn the first step. I was shacked with a 24-year-old girl for 2 weeks, about. One night, my 34-year-old woman arrived, and she said, I want to see my rival. She did, and then she said, oh, you're a cute little thing. Next thing I knew, there was a screech of wildcats. Such screaming and scratching, wounded animal moans, blood, and piss. I was drunk and in my shorts, and I tried to separate them and fell. Then they were through the screen, door, and down the walk, and out on the street. Squad cars full of cops arrived. A police helicopter circled overhead. I stood in the bathroom and grinned in the mirror. It's not often at the age of 55 that such splendid things occur. The 34-year-old came back in. She had pissed all over herself, and her clothing was torn. And she was followed by 2 cops who wanted to know why. Pulling up my shorts, I tried to explain.
told you I'll bury you all. I told you I'll bury you all.
And I guess the second memory that I would take with me is the memory of my house here in New Orleans. My little house. It's not a big house, it's just a simple little house. But I like the backyard. I love the backyard. It's a patio and it's got a lot of green. The greenery fascinates me because it gives me a lot of space. And that's what I would take. It's also part of me. It's very much a part of me. So that's what I would take.
The last one, I want to see. I don't know. I lost my faith in next century if I ever make it through. And these would have to be there, you see. And since I haven't invested into the future by not having an offspring, I have no interest really in that future. What would I like to see just before I die? I would like to go back to Fiji. It's a very primitive idea. I would like to go to Fiji Island and spend my last days on Fiji Island. Islands, it's a small archipelago. That's the closest I could get. Very banal, bourgeois.
My last memory, which I think I've already had, which is also sounds strange, is that I astrally project out of my body and I split molecularly, kind of like Carlos Castaneda books, where the body just kind of splits up into millions and millions of pieces, and then it's like I was projected out in suspended animation, just flying through the heavens. I felt very peaceful, and I got a sense of I'm going to have to wait to find out what's next, because I don't really know what's next. But I was real okay with that. It was like, I'm going to get to rest, I'm going to get to be peaceful for a while, and then probably I will come back into this existence as something else. I don't know, maybe even an animal. So it was a good experience for me, and I'm not afraid of it, if that makes any sense.
I am not sure what the image would be, and I would think that it might be just a cliche in the sense that maybe it's just what everybody wants, some sort of peace at the end. But I would certainly like that all the pieces that somehow belong to my life come together. It seems as if there were magnets in which all of them were south poles, and maybe the only north pole is me. So all the south poles do feel good around the north pole, however, the south pole repel each other. And I just would like for the puzzle to come together, of the puzzle of relating and of destiny, I would say. Hopefully. And then I can go back as far as I want.
The last memory? In the future? I don't know. I hope I think about my kids and my grandkids and my art and what I leave behind. I don't know. My last memory right now? Asking the bartender for a drink?
Contrastando la primera imagen de un niño atrapado y desesperado La última imagen sería de un hombre totalmente liberado. Libre. Esa sería la imagen. Un hombre que tuvo suficiente libertad para seguir sus metas, sus sueños, sus objetivos y realizarla.
I found her room at the top of the stairway. She was alone. "Hello, Henry," she said then. "You know, I hate this room 'cause there's no window." I had a terrible hangover. The smell was unbearable. I felt as if I was going to vomit. They operated on me 2 days ago. "I'm sorry, Mom. You know, you were right. Your father is a terrible man." Poor woman. A brutal husband and an alcoholic son. "Excuse me, Mom. I'll be right back." My stomach was jumping. I got out of the room and walked halfway down the stairs. I kept breathing the air and managed not to vomit. And I walked back into the room. "He had me committed to a mental institution. Did you know that?" "Yes. I informed them that they had the wrong person in there." "You look sick, Henry. Are you all right?" "I am sick today, Mom. I'm going to come back and see you tomorrow." "All right, Henry." I got up, closed the door, then ran down the stairs. I got outside to a rose garden. I let it all go into the rose garden. Poor damned woman. The next day I arrived with flowers. I went up the stairway to the door. There was a wreath on the door. I tried the door anyhow. It was locked. I walked down the stairway through the rose garden and out to the street where my car was parked. There were 2 little girls about 6 or 7 years old walking home from school. "Pardon me, ladies, would you like some flowers?" They just stopped and stared at me. "Here." I handed the bouquet to the taller of the girls. "Now, you divide these. Please, give your friend half of them." "Thank you," said the taller girl. "They are very beautiful." "Yes, they are," said the other girl. "Thank you very much." They walked off down the street, and I got into my car. It started, and I drove back to my place. flesh covers the bone, and they put a mind in there, and sometimes a soul. And the women break vases against the walls, and the men drink too much, and nobody finds the one. But they keep looking, crawling in and out of beds. Flesh covers the bone, and the flesh searches for more than flesh. There's no chance at all. We are all trapped by a singular fate. Nobody ever finds the one. The city dumps fill. The junkyards fill. The madhouses fill. The hospitals fill. The graveyards fill. Nothing else. Fill.
Mr. Chinosky. Mr. Chinosky. I have here a book from your editor.
Just leave it there and go away. Fuck off. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes when everybody's asleep. I say, I know that you're there, so don't be sad. I pour my beer on him and cover him with cigarette smoke. Then I put him back, but he's singing a little in there. I haven't quite let him die, and we sleep together like that with our secret pact. And it's nice enough to make a man weep, but I don't. And you, are you crying? Bastard.